Hello everyone, today we'll be looking at GitHub and how to make a proper GitHub profile. This video is mainly meant for beginners who need to use this in order for a good resume and in order to boost their chances at getting a job. If you already have a job or have a couple of years of experience on your belt, you probably don't need to watch this tutorial or make your GitHub pro level. So first of all, what is GitHub? So GitHub is a Microsoft-owned software that allows people to host their projects on there. It uses this version control called Git that allows you to track files, merge files, and delete files as well. So let's just click on to this and see what it goes. So it directly goes into my account already. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into my profile. When applying for new jobs, you would likely want to put this link in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is have a good amount of contributions. So each time you contribute to your own projects or an open source project, you will get a contribution and you will get a stamp right onto this track. In fact, let me the light mode is disabled. Anyway, so as you can see, I have 650 contributions within half the year. So that's relatively higher when compared to other people, but it's suggested to have between at least 100 contributions per year. As you can see, the more you contribute per day, the more your sticker will glow. For example, sometimes I do 35 contributions, 18, 41 even. And other times I'll just do 3 or 1. Or so. The idea is that it's still consistent, so as you can see I constantly have consistency. I skip at most 1 or 2 days. GitHub is also a very good place for open source projects, for example Linux. In fact, you should be using GitHub mainly for open source projects. So as you can see on this Linux repo, there's multiple contributors, and there's also a README. This is the next thing we're going to be exploring, and for this I'm just going to be going onto my account. So over here, I have 4 projects that are pinned. I have lots of repositories, but I personally suggest not to pin a lot of repositories on there. Why? Because developers only like to, or interviewers only like to see projects that are actually interesting. Other repositories such as forks or repos that are old, I suggest you don't involve them at all. So just leave them public, or you can even privatize them. But I think you need to pay to have them privatized, so just keep them wandering off into your repo, or you can even delete them. So I have 4 over here. So I have Deliver Me Mobile, an API, some competitive programming, and this other app I made in Golang. So the reason why I chose those 4 is because of the way it displays my skill set. First of all, they can see that I have experience in multiple languages, such as Python, Go, and Dart. Now, let's look at our projects one by one. So the first one that we're going to go on is Flashcards. So it's basically just a studying app I made. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to look at is the README. The README is the heart of your project. It's going to let people know what your project is about. It also shows your writing skills and how well you can communicate. So over here, I first explain what my project is, what it does. Then I explain the tech stack, how to install it, and building a database, and some just information. All right, the next project that I have is competitive programming. So I do competitive programming on the side, and I have all of these files. As you can see, I have 124 commits, so that shows how serious I am with this. I currently do not have a README, and I'm going to make one of those soon. All right, now let's move on to the main 2 that I want to show you guys. Deliver Me and Deliver Me API. So these 2 are just like 2 projects that connect together over an API, but I'm just going to show you guys them individually. First, let's look at the mobile front end. So I talk about what it does, then I link the backend related affairs, and we're going to go through that in a moment. Then I talk about my tech stack. After that, what I need to do is learn how to run the app. Because this isn't hosted on the internet, I have some instructions that can be found in my backend API that I'm going to show you guys in a moment. Then since this project's open source, I have the small instructions on how to open source it, and I have some code of conduct and contributions. Now, while I don't actually have any contributors, I still have this over here so that people can see that I'm serious and I know how to make proper GitHub repositories. Now let's look at our backend. Okay, so here's our backend API. So I talked about the backend. I didn't put too much on what this API does because it's kind of understood by the front end. I talked about the tech stack. The next thing I talked about is how to install this. This is very important, and because if you can't install the dependencies properly, the app's not going to work. So I first talked about installing the requirements, which are located in a text file. Then I talked about how to run my app. Then I talked about how to build my database. So I first just talked about the infrastructure of my database. Then I told them how to build it. So you go to models.py and you can write these files. Then I talked about how to set up environment variables. The next thing I talked about is testing my code. I wrote this over here because oftentimes people forget to test their code. Also because anyone reading this will now know that I know how to write unit tests. So let's just click that. Okay, and as you can see, I have a proper file structure for my tests, talking about every single file and what its importance is. Then I have how to properly install dependencies and how to run the tests. The last thing we're going to be exploring in this video is the packages that I've made. So I've made a users package and an orders package. All right, and as you can see for my packages, I have a proper explanation for what each file of code does. This shows that this shows the person that's interviewing me that I can properly explain my code and it's well organized. This will increase my chances as to getting hired. All right, so thank you guys for watching this video. Have a nice day.